Hello, everybody. It's Jamie, and welcome back again to another live stream. I'm hope that you guys hear me correctly. Welcome for those who are here. This stream, or the reason for the stream, or the topic in the stream, we're going to talk about the people in the boiler room of the RMS Titanic, also known, of course, as the Black Gang. I got my information or sources from this book here called The Guide to the Crew of the Titanic. It's a very handy book, talks about the crew of the Titanic, how they handled and how they worked and how it would have been, how it would have worked in any way. We're going to first start to discuss the ranks of the people in the boiler rooms. While the stream goes on, sometime if I look this way, it's because I have a script here, because I didn't memorize it all at once. So we're gonna start with first with the leading fireman, and the leading fireman was one of the highest ranking in the boiler room, like a little bit the boss of the boiler room in that part, if you know what I mean. The leading fireman and his underlings never came in contact with the first class or second class passengers. Of course, just imagine if you are a first class passenger and you are strolling amongst the decks of among the hallways of the Titanic with all the luxury all around you, and then out of nowhere comes like a big bulky stoker from the boilerman, all covered in dust and coal. So it wouldn't have happened. Their eating facilities of the men in the boiler rooms and the sleeping facilities would have been close to the boiler. Sometimes the boiler room or the stokers, though, would pass through third class to go to their stations, but that would also been rarely the occasion. Like that. And what would you can then see also again in the design that the people who built, of course, the Titanic, that they thought on that topic for if something happened in third or first or second class. So very clever. Now, if we go back into the boiler room, of course, the work in the boiler room was hard. I'm going to keep the script this because otherwise I'm going to read it. The work in the boiler room was hard. You, of course, have the boilers itself with the furnaces. So just imagine you're a stoker yourself and you're shoving the all day coal in the furnace. It's like you're literally almost with your head into a fire. What the stokers did to protect their body, for example, let's say burns from the furnaces or shard coals of the coal itself, like little pieces of coal that will get stuck into your body, that hurts. What the stokers did is they would have had long pieces of clothing and they would have put it around their arms. So again, you're working in an extremely hot environment, and you then have to do hot cloth over your arms to protect yourself, but then again also increasing your body heat. So it must have been extremely uncomfortable. Each boiler room had, of course, a leading fireman controlling the fireman itself and the trimmers. And there would have been 2 firemen in each boiler. And the fireman again would be, or the leading fireman again would have been assisted, would have, my English. The 2 leading firemen would have an assistant in the engine room above them to help them in cases of need. Boiler Room 1 was probably not in use during the voyage of the Titanic. The boilers in room 2 and 6 were fired during the trip. Like the most firemen worked 4 hours and 8 hours. Oh wait, I'm reading the script too much. The firemen, they worked 4 hours, and then again they would have had 8 hours off duty. Would have been a blessing. What the firemen or stokers then did, you of course had the crew spaces. Majorly, the firemen would stay in their sleeping quarters, and they would sit there and talk to each other, or they would go to the crew mess hall where they would go and talk to each other. So, or they could have gone outside and on the poop deck where the third class passengers were. So they could have done that as well. There were quite some parties or watchmen. I'm saying it wrong. There were quite some parties leading firemen, and I've written all their names down, so I will read it for you. Let's start with watch 1. Thomas Henry Ford, James Keegan, William Small, Thomas Furfel, and Francis Albert Weber. They were the leading firemen of the first watch. If we move on to the second watch, it would have been Thomas Davies, Thomas G. Graham, Charles Oscar Hendrickson, William Peter Mayo, and James Edward Norris. They would have been the second party of the leading firemen. And then you had the third watch party. And this is a name we all know and love. The famous Frederick Barrett, William Ferris, J. Mason, Arthur Percy Push, and James William Ward. And those were actually, like I said, the three parties of the leading firemen. How the leading firemen were divided between the boilers, we sadly don't know that. But we know for a fact, in all the documentaries and books, is that Frederick Barrett was in Boiler Room 6 when the collision happened on that fateful night of the Titanic sinking. And we all, of course, know that he survived the sinking as well. So William Ferris in Boiler Room 2, besides Barrett, William Ferris, Graham, Hendrickson, and Derval also survived the collision. That doesn't mean that they survived the sinking. There isn't record of Ferris or Graham or Hendrickson or Derval that they survived the sinking as well. As far as I know, only Barrett survived of the leading firemen. But I could be wrong. So the three people of you watching me ramble in my terrible English. But if you have some questions, please ask. It would make my heart very happy. No, just joking. Now we move on to the second part of this stream, and that is, of course, the firemen themselves. The firemen themselves did, of course, the most hard work, shoveling the coal into the furnaces under the instructions of the leading firemen and engineers. The 29 boilers of the Titanic, they had 195 furnaces. Some 29 boilers and 195 furnaces. So it's been a lot. It's been a lot. Somebody saying something. Your videos are very enjoyable. Good job. Thank you. Sometimes I need to remind myself that they are enjoyable. But thank you for the compliment. Very kind. Flipping the page. So apparently, what I didn't know at least was that one per each fireman must have been responsible for 3 fire holes. So that means then 3 of the furnaces. And I don't know if it's for you guys, but I just imagine I'm already hot as it is. If you have, let's say, 29, or was it? God, my mind is a mess. Yeah, 29 boilers and 195 furnaces, and if you, it's already hot enough to keep one boiler in check, and then just imagine that as a fireman you have to be responsible for 3 of those furnaces. It must have been hell, but then again they got paid not very much, but they got paid at least a little bit. um, The firemen were also divided in 3 watches. Each watch was consistent of 52 men, and they were again have been divided, like I said earlier, on 3 watches. So you have then the nah. Take a breath. There we go. 3 watches and 52 men each watch. So they had an army over there in those boilers. But sadly, 43, or sadly, luckily, 43 of the 195 firemen survived the sinking. So almost nobody survived the sinking of the firemen in the disaster of the Titanic. So that's it's sad if you think about it. And now we move on to the third and final part of the stream. It's not been a long stream already. I see the time. It's not that long. But again, if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask. It doesn't have to be on this subject. It can also be about other stuff if you have questions, so feel free. Now we move then on to the final part, and that is the trimmers. And the trimmers, their job was, you of course had rooms where the coal was stored. And what the trimmers would have done, they would have grabbed the coal, put it in kind of a wagon that you also have in those, what do you call it? Gold mines. Those carts what you also have in gold mines. They would put the coal into a cart where they also would have had in the coal mines, and they would bring it to the firemen. So they would go back and forth with a car of coal, bringing it to the firemen, and shoveling the coal into the cars. So the coals, of course, the blocks of coal were pretty huge, so they would also have to cut them up to make the coal that it would fit through the boiler on the furnace. And if we think about it, it was also a terrible job, because I don't think, in my opinion, that if you breathe in the air of coal the whole time, it isn't good for your lungs. And again, the heat in the boiler room, so it wouldn't have been healthy, I guess, for the people in the trimmers. One other thing was the meter, that the coal, or let's say coal stacks, they were pretty high. So what also could have happened if you would have had, or if you would pick the coal up carelessly, you would actually cause an avalanche, that all the coal from the up top would fall to the bottom. So that would be a thing. And there would have been 3 watches of the trimmers, and those watches, again, those 3 watches would contain. Oh wait, I'm saying it wrong. 1 watch would contain 24 men, and the other 2 would contain 22 men. So again, 3 watches. So the trimmer's job was taking the coal to the boilers. But let's say if a fireman was injured, or he got burnt, and let's say the trimmers, if they didn't have anything to do, they would jump into the space of the stoker who went away. So they would then again shove coal until the stoker, of course, was better or healed from his wound. Coal was often broken up into smaller pieces in order to increase the surface area to allow a more complete burn and get more heat of the fuel. Thank you, Louis. I didn't know that, or I didn't read it, but thank you. Like this is what I like about the streams, right? Of course, you have a book that tells you about the information, but again, if you have like comments like this, you learn again a lot more. So thank you, Louis, for this comment. Didn't know, but thank you for letting me learn. Sadly, though, every day 20 men, firemen and trimmer, would go to the ship's surgeon with burns, sprains, or other injuries. Of course, it was also a very dangerous job, the boiler room. Besides all the heat and burning and strains, it wasn't good on the body, at least. 20 of the total 73 survived the sinking. So of the 20 of the trimmers, wait, of the total of 73 trimmers aboard the Titanic, 20 of them survived the sinking. So that's not a lot again, but at least some got out. So that was what I had written up for the script. But I have some stuff that I also have come up with when I was writing the script. Is I don't know if any of you guys in the chat have seen it, but we all know the documentary, or at least I know the documentary of saving the Titanic. The documentary where we would have gone into the engine room, and they showed also live with Frederick Barrett in the boiler room. That documentary, Saving the Titanic Again, that gives a better perspective of how life must have been, and I really enjoyed it. So I just says I really like Saving the Titanic. Me too. It's one of my favorite documentaries of the Titanic, like Saving the Titanic. I remember when it came out that you didn't have. Now I'm going to say it again. Now you can see the documentary Saving Titanic on YouTube, but before that, I always watched the bad quality version, and that would have been in Polish with English subtitles at the bottom, but very bad quality. And thank the Lord that somebody actually put out the documentary in good English, good quality, good understanding. So again, where I got this information from is the just making it. Oh, thank you, Super Enthusiast. It's already fun that you are here. So again, where I got the information of the stream or regarding this talk is the book Guide to the Crew of the Titanic. And then, like it says, the structure of the working aboard the legendary liner. What my idea is that I will try to stream more besides making my videos. And I want to cover each part of the crew in a stream. And then again, I'm going to make a video and then a little bit more detailed. But I hope you like the idea of me streaming more and talking about the crew of the Titanic, because you don't hear much of that, of the crew on the Titanic, what their jobs were, how it would have been, how it was. So that was actually it for me. And by the way, sorry that it didn't take that it took so long to make, or at least stream again. I had some health issues, but I'm back again, and I will make stream videos more often. That's the word I'm trying to say. So, guys, the 4 of you who stayed with me, thank you. We reached 20 minutes into the live. It's not a long live, but it was a live though that I hope that you learned something from it, from this live, and me rambling about it. Well, hello there, Corey, Pritchett, Stephen. Thank you for you, Corey, to join the stream. But if you guys have other friends who like ocean liner stuff, please let them see my channel. I'm trying to reach 200 subs. It's in high demand, but I'm trying to reach it. So if you guys have friends who like ocean liner stuff, please tell them about my channel. Let's make it happen. 200 subs. So like I said, guys, this stream, by the way, will be on my YouTube. So you will all, for the people who will watch it at a later time, I hope you enjoy it. And again, guys, thank you for watching. So wherever you are, have a good night or day, and we will see each other in the next one. Bye-bye.